Okay, so here's what to do when your career looks good, but man, it feels meaningless. Trust me, I know exactly where you're coming from if you are in this category. I'm Dr. Kiki Ramsey, your positive psychologist and favorite career coach, and we're going to get into it today. When you really are on a job or in a career and it looks good to everybody, I mean, it's shiny, honey, it's banging, but you don't feel it. You don't feel the meaning of it anymore. We're going to talk about that in today's video. I remember being in this very situation. Now, some of you know, but I come from a background of social work. So it's a noble profession. I really did cherish the days that I was a social worker, but there came a time where I was not only burnt out as it pertains to social work, I was misaligned. I had outgrown the career and it didn't feel good. It didn't feel as meaningful work to me as it once did. Now, let me say this. For all of you who think I'm saying something different. It's not that I didn't care, right? Because I always cared about my patients. I always cared about my clients and everything. But it started to take a toll on me in such a way that I was having a hard time placing value and meaning on it for my life. And that to me got completely difficult. And when I was in the job, I was so stressed out on a day-to-day basis. I was stressed out and that's hard to do. I remember one day coming home, talking to my husband, Jamil, about my day. And I'm like, babe, I have ulcers. He was like, you ain't got ulcers. I'm like, no, I got ulcers. I feel like my stomach is hurting. And I was having a physical, visceral reaction to work on a daily basis. And that was just a difficult thing to deal with. And so if you are like me and you've gone to work and it just doesn't feel meaningful anymore, you're not alone. And let me just normalize this for you, because I think a lot of us, especially us high achieving women, find ourselves in these types of situations. But there is a thing called achievement versus alignment. And yes, we can achieve and we can succeed at very high heights, but sometimes it doesn't align. And there is a difference between external success and internal fulfillment. It's a difference. External success says that I have the title, I'm the CEO, I'm the VP, I am the CFO, right? These are all of our titles, our salary. We're making six figures. We're making $1 million a year, all of that. And then there's this recognition part, and all of this is external. People are recognizing you're such a great leader. You're such a great worker. That's external. Every last bit of it is external versus internal fulfillment says, I have purpose. Wow. There is purpose in what I'm doing in my life. There's joy. I have impact. I'm able to grow. And ultimately, that's what we want. And when we find ourselves out of alignment, right, our career begins to feel meaningless. And so there is a disconnection, right? We need to talk about the root of the disconnection when it comes to fulfillment and alignment and meaningfulness and meaninglessness in our careers, right? When you are disconnected, you have some misalignment with your values, right? You have misalignment with your values. Sometimes, right, you are living someone else's definition of success. And I see us doing that all the time. What my coworker or what my boss says is successful, that's what I ultimately think success is. But what really matters to you 5 or 10 years ago, it doesn't matter now. That's what misalignment really is. Our values now don't align with the values that we once had. It means you might have changed. And that's okay, right? What about another disconnection is the lack of impact, right? You may have this whole lack of impact, meaning that your work doesn't feel meaningful anymore. And then you don't even really understand who benefits from what you do, right? Back in the day, when I was a social worker, there were so many people who benefited from it. But as that work began to take a toll on me, I was trying to figure out if I could even keep my family together. I was spending more time at work with the babies that I was taking care of on the job than I was my own son. Who is this benefiting? If I can't be the mom that I want to be to my own child, how am I supposed to be this for other babies? And I know they need me, but I felt like my own son did as well. And then there's also your growth has stalled. So when we think about some root causes of why you don't feel meaningful in your job anymore, your growth has stalled. You don't feel challenged anymore. You are evolving and the work is not evolving with you. And then lastly, you've outgrown the season. Honey, success in this chapter doesn't give you fulfillment anymore. And that is okay. I had to realize when I was going through my career transition, it was difficult because when you think of being a social worker, everybody says, oh my God, that's so good. That's such an amazing job. And so for me, it felt like I was abandoning something that was amazing. But I had to realize I wasn't abandoning something that was amazing. I was standing up for something that I needed for myself. And we get the two things mixed up. And so here's what I want you to do. Because we're so very quick. I know, listen, I know us. We're so very quick. I want us to pause before you pivot. Listen, I was just on a coaching call the other day with a client and she's been thinking about pivoting and everything like that. And she was like, well, I don't even know what I would do. I don't even know, what my next step is. I don't know. I'm concerned. I said, let's pause right now. We are pausing before we pivot because here's the thing. You don't got to quit your job right now, right? We are not about to send in a resignation. The thing that I want you to do first is, especially don't quit on a bad day. We be having some bad days. Don't do something drastic just because you had a bad day, right? I want you to really conduct what I call a fulfillment audit, right? I want you to ask yourself a couple questions. Number one, what energizes me? Number two, what drains me? And then lastly, when do I feel most alive at work? You got to think about when do you feel most alive, right? And for me, these are positive psychology questions and tools that you can use in really assessing where you're at and pivot. So one of the things I had to do around this time where I was thinking about switching my career from social work to coaching is I had to get really clear on the questions that I just gave you. And I would wake up early in the morning. Y'all know I'm a part of the 5 a.m. club. And I would get up and I would just think about these things because when you are thinking about a career change, this is not something that's just something you do. Now, I do believe that is something that we all can do, but you want to give it some time and some energy. And so once you pause, I want you to then think about redesigning before you replace anything. You're not trying to jump into just the next thing because the thing that you're in no longer fulfills you. That's what I call a recipe for disaster. And then you're going to jump into that next thing and then you're going to be in the same place. And so what we're going to do is we're going to redesign before we replace. What that means is sometimes you don't need a new career. You need a new way of engaging, right? You need a new way of being. You can potentially take on more responsibilities at your job, right? I know that might sound interesting, but for a woman who is a high achiever, that's something that you can do, especially if you're bored. And then you can add some purpose-driven projects. Ask for projects that actually matter to you in your current position. And then last thing you can do, or two things is you can do. You can mentor other people and then you can change environments. There's a lot of things that may be available to you within your same current career that you haven't thought of because we're just sitting here being unhappy. And I want to say this. If you do all these things and it is truly time to move on, you have got to release the guilt. Gratitude and growth can coexist at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time. And I had to give myself that because I did this. I took on more responsibilities. There was a lot of purpose-driven projects in the work. I was mentoring others, but baby, I was still misaligned. I was still not where I needed to be at the time. And so I had to realize that it was time for me to move on. And because I realized that, I had to release the guilt because I felt that social work was so noble, and it is, and nothing has changed. It's a beautiful profession, and shout out to all of my social workers out there. Most of my friends are still social workers, right? But I had to release the guilt and move forward. And I had to redefine what my next chapter of success looked like. And you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to redefine it. It's okay, right? You're going to have to just sit down and think about what success looks like for you. And then you're going to have to build a transition plan. And what that means is you need to do a skills inventory. Honey, you are very skilled, and I knew that I had gone through all this schooling, gotten a master's in social work. I am so skilled at helping people do what it is that they need to do. And I had to do that skills inventory. I was great at communicating. I was great at finding resources, all these things. And I didn't want to start over, right, with the skills that I've already built. And so I had to really survey my skills and then think about positions or careers that would align with the skills that I already had. Because sometimes y'all feel like we got to start over. We don't. We may have to pivot into a new career, but you can still use your same skills. You also need to assess, do you got the financial runway? Honey, a pivot takes time. I remember back in the day, my Pastor Battle, he would say, so many of us have such beautiful skills, but we ain't got no jump money. We don't have money to move from this one thing to the next. Now, if you're in your position, chances are you do have this jump money. So you need to survey that and see how long you can go as you are trying to pivot to something new. And then you got to think about your network. Your network is your net worth. And at the end of the day, we are beautiful individuals. We're connected and we have a network that we can tap into. And then lastly, I want you to think about your time. What is the timeline that you're trying to do this in? Is this the next month, 6 months, the next year? All of these things you're going to have to take into consideration as you're thinking about moving or pivoting to the next thing. And then one of the last things I really want you to think about as you are trying to pivot because your career feels meaningless is what your definition of success is. For a long time, I would look at what other people thought success was. And success for me wasn't those things. And then you have to choose. A career that looks good but feels empty is not success, boo. I'm just saying. A career that looks good, but it don't feel good, it's not success. Real success is alignment between who you are and what you do. That's real success. When you are aligned and you love what you do and who you are, that's success. And I think that once you go on this journey, as we're going on this journey together, I'm trying to help you overcome this. You have to understand that you want purpose over prestige. You want harmony over hustle, and you want alignment over applause. So I hope that this helped you. I'm going to leave you with 2 questions, as I always do as your career coach, that I want you to ponder on and really get your journal out and think about, because I think these 2 questions are going to have you really moving in the right direction if you are truly feeling what I'm talking about in this video today. And if you thought that this video was helpful, please go ahead and subscribe, share this with somebody who needs to hear it, because I can guarantee you somebody else needs to hear this message. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'm about to give you your 2 questions. So number 1, if no one could see your title, if they didn't know your salary, if they didn't know your status, would you still choose the work that you're doing? Why or why not? So if you were anonymous, nobody knew you was the boss, all that kind of stuff, would you still choose the work that you're doing? And question number 2, what small shift could you make in the next 30 days to feel more aligned, more energized, and more purposeful in your work? I love this question so much because this is the one question that I had to truly ask myself as I was trying to pivot from social work to coaching. So what small shift could you make? Small, right? It ain't got to be big. It can be small, just tiny, micro. But what small shift could you make in the next 30 days that would make you feel like you're more aligned and more energized and feel like you have purpose in the work that you're doing? All right. Well, there you have it. I am excited for you along this journey. And if you continue to need more help, check out the Career Happiness Clarity Kit that I have created for you. I'll walk you through all of this in a very succinct way so that you come out with answers on your next steps. The link is in the bio. All right now. Peace.